and then you come to CSGO and it's clown fiesta.
If anything goes bad, you just gotta suck it up.
We would never move to Berlin.
I'm awful at CSGO, I'll let you know right now.
How did you stay hungry after these years?
Cash money.
Like, I don't feel like the competitive scene in Fortnite even exists.
I think we all looked at each other and we knew that, this is gonna be a rough one, guys.
Hi guys, welcome to the Jackling's Fnatic Attic. I am Laure, I will be your host today, and joining me is Broxah and Bwipo from the League of Legends team. How are you guys today?
Doing good, excited to be here.
Yeah. And on my right is JW and Krimz from the CSGO teams. How are you guys feeling?
Also excited to meet these guys. It's the first time I meet them, and I'm looking forward to the chat.
Yeah.
It's the first time we have you all brought together, and we have so many interesting things to say, so let's dive into it. So let's start about your career directly. What did you guys think you knew before you started as a player, GW?
I think it would be great to know how much time you actually spend away from home. I think when you start out, you think you're only gonna play computer games, but it's so much more. You spend so much time away from your home, your family, your friends, your beloved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that wasn't quite clear to me in the beginning, at least, especially now that the industry have grown and all that. But yeah, I think definitely that is the biggest thing that kind of surprised me.
Yeah, we go from playing in your room to making it your job.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference for me is how exhausting it really is. I mean, I think everybody here could easily play 12 or 14 hours in a day back in the day, but now all of a sudden you're like giving in everything you have. You're giving 100% every single game you're playing. It's like when you're practicing, it's never a moment where you can like just sit back and chill. Like if you're only playing for yourself, you don't mind. You can just kick back and relax for a second. But over in the practice matches we play with the team, it's just like you gotta give 100% all the time, and if anything goes bad, you just gotta suck it up and keep trying. So it's a bit harder.
How differently do you see the game now?
Oof. I think it's still funny, but it had its tough times. I mean, if you don't win as much, you're not gonna appreciate that much anymore. But you gotta, you just gotta live with it. Like evolve. Yeah, just get better at the game.
For me, it's a bit different as well. Like before I went pro, when I was in high school, I was just playing all the time after school purely because it was fun, and I wanted to climb the ladder and just prove to myself that I'm a good player. And now it's still fun, but it's in a different way, where often the motivation is that I want to be the best I can be for my team, or I want to achieve something on stage. And while that can also be fun in a way, it's more done with like the purpose of being something for my team rather than purely enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about League and CS, we talk about the mains eSports, if I may say, but the games are completely different, the scenes are different, the schedule over the year is different. So how does the difference in your game shift your career and makes your careers different?
Well, when looking at a game like CSGO, it's very interesting to me because for us, we are just based in Berlin at this point. We live in Berlin and we do travel a bit here and there for international events or for finals, but for the most part, we're just in Berlin, whereas these guys are traveling all the time. And I honestly don't even know if I would be able to do that personally, like traveling this much. And for me, we're traveling a lot already, but it's not even 1/3 or 1/4 of what these guys are doing, right? And it's just interesting to see, because while we're all professional esport players, it's entirely different worlds, I feel like.
For you guys, it's different. You've been here for so long, and you've been used to this schedule. How do you see these guys' schedule?
I think it's pretty interesting actually, because like he says he would never travel like we do, but we also always look at League of Legends and say we would never move to Berlin. We would never, or any other country for that matter. It's nothing against Berlin, but yeah, I think that feels like such a big sacrifice that I think I wouldn't do. Living in another country and all that, giving up on your family, it just seems like a way bigger sacrifice to me. So it's a very interesting take actually, and I think the games they're very look-alike when it comes to the commitment and what you have to do to become the best, but everything around it I think is totally reverse.
Mm-hmm. If you had to pick something from League, you from League and you from CS that you'd like to implement in the way you guys do competition, what would it be?
Yeah, then I would say the structure.
Yeah.
It's very structured in League of Legends. It seems like it's, and then you come to CS:GO and it's clown fiesta.
And you guys, if you had to pick something from CS?
More major tournaments. I feel like Worlds is the only tournament that like really hits home. I'm not sure if CSGO has the same idea of like there's one that really people like more than anything else.
Yeah, we have two
one.
majors per year,
Yeah.
which are considered like the best.
Yeah, but there's two at least, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like MSI, it's
Yeah,
a big
but
deal.
also like every second week we have a major tournament that you really want to win and you really want to compete at. So it's just that they don't have the major label to it. But yeah.
I feel you, but it's just that idea of just having a bit more than that. More than two would be nice, you know, like having the opportunity to have a taste of international competition a little more often than twice a year, not feeling like your whole year is grinding towards that one end purpose. And I feel like sometimes that gets a bit overwhelming. You know, like if you're having a bad split, for example, you're just like, am I not going to make it? Or do I even get a chance to show how good I can be or how good our team can be? Because I feel like in CS you at least have that advantage. If you have a bad tournament, it's all right. You can come back the next one and you can come back. Whereas here, you miss Worlds. Well, see you next year. Yeah,
I think that's also something that I think would be very hard for me in League of Legends. That, let's say, as you said, you have one bad tournament, and the guys who win that tournament, let's say someone win MSI, you're not gonna get revenge against them until like next year or whatever. Like I think that's something that would be a very hard to me, because of course you're gonna go home and you're gonna train so hard and you're gonna become better, but then you're gonna have to wait so long to actually get that revenge. Sure, it could be in the end it's gonna be a very sweet revenge maybe, but you want to get that revenge pretty damn fast, I would say.
Well, I'm still waiting for that IG game. But we didn't make MSI, so honestly it's on us, you know.
I think it's I don't know how I would handle that.
Don't either. But you have a really long off season, right? If you miss like Worlds and stuff like that.
That is the advantage. If you don't make it, then I guess you get a longer vacation.
I would take that. Nah.
We saw that esports changed in many ways, and we'll talk about some of them afterwards. But according to you, how has esports changed the most over the years?
I would say the two things that I think is the biggest changes is first, like how we interact with the fans. I think esports is pretty unique that we feel so close and connected to our fans. I think I don't follow that many other sports, but I have a hard time to believe that I can sit in front of my computer and talk to Messi. It's not how it works, I think, in other sports and stuff like that. So I think that's the key point, how we interact with our fans and how close we actually are to each other. And the second one is how we have developed into this kind of arena thing, because we used to be in basements, we used to be in small local stuffs in small towns, but now we go to the biggest cities and we fill the biggest stadiums. I think those two are definitely the biggest changes for me.
Krimz, for you, the crowd, the audience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a special thing to play in front of a huge crowd. Like, it gets you goosebumps and memories for life.
Bwipo, for you, you're rather new,
I'm
if I may say. So how is it for you? You've been used to seeing esports from home, and now you've been on stage for a few years. So how do you see this evolution?
honestly, it's just been It's been impressive, really.
Mhm.
Like you sit at home, you're playing the same game that people are playing on stage. Like for me as a viewer, right? Because like I would watch CS:GO and like I'm awful at CS:GO. I'll let you know right now. You know, but if I ever wanted it good, I would watch teams. You know, I would watch like players from Fnatic. I would watch players from any other team in League, right? And I would just be like, all right, can I be that good? Is the question I would always ask myself, right? So. To me, what's impressive that has changed in esports the most is I feel like that type of feeling. I don't feel like there's as much of a distance between newer players and like older players. I feel like newer players are a bit more confident in actually getting to that level because I feel like at least in League of Legends in the past, like years back, people would watch players like Faker play and they would be like, I'm never going to be that good. Whereas like now, I don't think it's the same. I think people can actually look at professional players and realize, okay, if we put in enough effort, we can make it. I feel like the whole change in esports made it also more humane with like the schedule and stuff. It's not about how talented people are, it's about how much effort you're really putting into it combined with where you start. So I think that's the biggest difference.
There's been a shifting in the way we see pro players. You guys used to be only here to play games on stage and afterwards it's done. And as we discussed, you have to be stars now. And online personas. So how do you deal with the fact that you went from being only pro player to being entertainer, streamer, influencer, and so on?
I think I'm also kind of might not look that way, but I think I would say that I'm a very, very shy guy. I don't really like all the attention and being around of a lot of cameras and all that, but it's something you kind of have to embrace because sometimes I feel that overall the esports scene, we can give back so much more to the fans. I think we have been the previous years pretty poor at giving something back to them because it's thanks to them that I can live this life. It's because of them that I can compete professionally in a game like this. So I think you kind of have to embrace it and try to give back somehow. And in my way, it is showing up at signing sessions and giving some content or whatever. But I also understand that it is even more sacrifices. So I understand people like Krimz, for example, that aren't really feeling it. You can't really force it either. Yeah, I think it's a combination for me.
For you guys?
For me personally, the most important thing is being a pro player, and then streaming, content, all these sorts of things are kind of secondary, and I can do them to an extent, but I need to make sure that I also have some personal space and a personal life, and that I don't just sacrifice myself entirely to both be a pro player and an entertainer, because the pro player part takes up so much time and gives so many sacrifices already, so there's kind of a limit to how much you can do extra.
As we mentioned, outside of the game, you guys have to embrace this whole star personality thing, and it usually translates through Twitter. So I think recently you said that players shouldn't be shy online and actually create some banter between players. So what is your take on that? Is it still true?
Yeah, I think it's still true. I think esports is like, we're all about entertaining, right? Like it's entertainment.
How you guys feeling going into this semi?
Like G's.
Like G's, straight up G's. I don't even know if we need to do the rest of the interview at this point. Do you guys feel good that you got a bit of a warm-up in this morning by playing that lower bracket game, that decider game?
Yeah.
I knew this was going to happen. Do you want to say anything at all?
No.
All right, bro, keep it real gangster then. Keep it real gangster. All right, good luck to Fnatic. The guys from Compton looking focused in this one for sure. Probably the best interview of the weekend.
And it's also a sport, of course, but I think people are very afraid to create rivalries. It's like I read social medias and every pro player loves each other, and I know it is not like that. I mean, of course, we are friends. We're not enemies like that. But if this guy is my opponent, of course I can smack talk him a bit because it's gonna make him a bit pissed off and all that. I think it's just more interesting without all these happy thoughts and flowers, you know. It's not how it is. So let's give the fans and all the guys watching like a really good show.
Entertainment.
Yeah, I think I really think it doesn't hurt anyone, I think.
Okay. Do you agree, guys? Do you think it's the difference we have in League?
Well, I remember shortly after I joined Fnatic and I started playing on stage, one of my fellow junglers, Gilius, went on the analyst desk and he talked about how bad of a player I was and how I copied everything from him and all this type of stuff.
I mean, the thing about Broxah is if you have 3 winning lanes every single game, jungling is actually pretty easy to do. So, like, what I have to say about Broxah, like, honest opinion, 1 year ago, I was making fun of this guy in solo queue every single game when he was a random. And then he started copying me, started playing Elise and Lee Sin only. And then he made it to the LCS and only played Elise and Lee because the bans were going to the other players in the team. And he somehow managed to became the best jungler in Europe now, so...
From that moment, all of a sudden, the matches against this guy got a lot more exciting, both for me and for the fans, right? And that was a bit forced upon me, I feel like. But at the same time, there are a bunch of these people in the league as well that are known for, starting rivalries and saying these things to make matches a bit more exciting. And I was through this at the start of my career, and I wasn't too happy about it. I felt like I made it. I joined Fnatic, and everything's going great. And then I have this guy, talking about how bad I am and how I copied him. But yeah,
it's not really your style to answer to this.
No, I mean, I just gave him the silent treatment. But at the same time, as TW mentioned, it made it a lot more exciting when we were facing this guy. I was really pumped, and the fans were really pumped, and. No matter who won, some fans were excited and going at it at the other side, right?
I mean, this guy isn't here anymore, so obviously you won. And
I guess so.
Well, we had our moments on stage with the banter and all. What do you think about it?
I mean, as long as it's all in good faith, that's important. But I think that's like the biggest problem is I feel like it's hard for me to banter someone that I don't really know. Like on the enemy team, because I feel like maybe he'll actually think I hate him, Maybe he'll feel personally attacked. And my point would not be to personally attack someone. It would just be like, you know what, be cheeky, just take the piss and just be like, hey, I think you probably, you're not as good at the game as you think. And I think that is what banter should be, right? Yeah. Just to remind this guy, I don't think you're as good at the game as you think you are, and then you put him in his place. And I think that's good banter, right?
I mean, to me, the reason I'm kind of disappointed because there was a lot of hype around, oh, we're both rookies and we're both good, and then he kind of picks a really shitty matchup where I can just smash him. So I did.
But I feel like, honestly, the whole thing, like with social media in general, I feel like a lot of people get butthurt over a lot of things. Yeah. And honestly, banter is one of the first things up there, People get really butthurt. But again, if I throw something at you, like, I expect you to remember. And when I have a bad game and I run it down, I fully expect to get a swing back twice as hard,
I
ideally.
think that's really important as well. Like, if you actually want to do that kind of stuff, you have to handle it as well.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of guys that they can give banner, but they can't take banner. And I think you can't just give it. It has to go both ways. Yeah.
One thing that you don't learn about and nobody can teach you is how to deal with fame, with critique. I think about Reddit, for instance, or HLTV sometimes when fans may critique your performance on where you're not having the best day. So how do you deal with that?
Oof, experience.
Yeah?
You're not gonna have a peak forever. Like, you're gonna have a bumpy road. And no one's gonna tell you that the world is perfect. Like, same goes by eSports. You're gonna have a bumpy road. Some games you're gonna step up, some games you're gonna be low. But the most important thing to remember is the communication part, and do your the best to help the team out. If you're not having the best individual performance.
Mm-hmm. Dealing with critique and people flaming.
For me, it's always been simple. Like, honestly, if I read something on Reddit and someone has relevant feedback, I've already told myself, Like, if I went on stage and I messed up, I already know. I don't need some guy from his couch to tell me that I messed up. I already know. And I mean, I appreciate that he wants to point it out again. And with good or bad intentions, doesn't matter. I've played the game enough. I understand what I'm supposed to do right, and I'm just going to try and keep doing it right. And when I mess up, I'll tell myself first. And again, it's my coach's job, right, to tell me again. And obviously that's in good intention. If someone wants to tell me in bad intention, it doesn't really bother me, because at that point, it's not news. If someone actually has feedback that I haven't thought of and it's relevant, then in that way, it's useful, right? But usually, people usually just look at the surface, and you can for yourself figure out what you did right or wrong most of the time?
Sounds simple, but how do you stay hungry after these years?
Cash money.
I think you just have to find a motivation somehow. Like let's say we talked about forums and stuff like that before. There's a lot of young players. They have a good match. They go in and read comments. They want to read good things about themselves. They want to get pumped. I think that's a good thing, but it's not. It can't be your source of motivation. Like Broxah said before, you need to kind of go into yourself and, why did you start with this? Why are you here? You need to find that motivation, and then you are gonna see that these young kids, they're here for the same reason, and they're gonna play more than you. Then you have to play more as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all about, the commitment and all that as well.
So a few years ago, people have been wondering if esports would stay or if it's just a phase and the whole thing would go away. I think it's staying from now. Everybody knows it. But how do you see esports evolving again over the years?
I think esports overall is gonna be the biggest thing there is, because I see no limitations. Like let's say football and hockey or whatever. Like of course you can come really really far with like talent and dedication, all that. But I also think there's some genetics to it. While I don't really think there is to computer games or esports in general. Like anybody can compete, which I think most pro players in CSGO at least, they started off as like football players and they got a leg injury or whatever and they couldn't play, so they played the computer games and became the best. And I think that's kind of what reflects on what esports is. There's no limitations. Doesn't matter how, if you have any handicap or whatever, like everyone can compete, everyone can become the best, which I think is gonna make it the biggest thing ever in the future.
Esports is going to stay, but is League going to stay over the years, or are we going to have another MOBA or something in a few years? How do you see things?
That's what I'm the most curious about, because I think there's no doubt that esports is just going to keep growing and become bigger and bigger, but it's so hard to say if League of Legends is here in 10 years or if it has been replaced, and same for Counter-Strike even. Like, you never know what happens, and there constantly is new games coming up that, just become so popular, and because the scene as a whole is becoming more and more popular each time a new game comes out. It's more popular than the previous one.
How do you see things, Bwipo?
I think like what's most interesting is like, is anyone going to try and make a game that is more like aimed towards a competitive environment that people are going to enjoy, right? Like, it doesn't feel like other franchises compared to CSGO are really trying to push that esports scene nearly as much as CSGO is, and the same goes for League. And that's why I feel like they're the top, right? Because they're really trying to push that esports figure forward, right? They want to be the main games in esports, and they're making a lot of conscious efforts to do that. Whereas in the future, it would be interesting to see if there were other games, maybe new games, that were trying to achieve that same idea. Because like, you have the whole mention about Fortnite, right? But I don't really feel that same vibe when it comes to esports competitiveness. Like, I don't feel like the competitive scene in Fortnite even exists. But, like, again, maybe I missed that part. It just feels like, I don't know.
You're right.
I would be pretty worried as a Fortnite pro, though, I think. Like, of course, as a League of Legends player and a CSGO player, you're kind of worried about how many years will it exist. But let's say as a Fortnite pro, you don't know if there comes out a new Battle Royale next week, and your career is
exactly.
So I think it's, even though we kind of think it's insecure, I think it's the most secure esports career you can have right now.
One thing that you guys all mentioned is the image of gamers and the fact that you guys went from basement players to rising superstars playing in arenas, and the old image of unhealthy gamers is finally going away. So how do you explain that?
I think everyone starts to feel about a bit more professional. That's the way the game, or just esports in general, has developed. Instead of eating like McDonald's or just fast food, that's the easiest option with our schedule and traveling and stuff like that. You gotta think twice about what you're putting in your stomach.
Yeah, I think it also comes from a lot of the structure thing that we've all talked about so much. Like before, I don't know how it was in League of Legends, but in CSGO, none of our days were the same. I could wake up and this day I got the message, okay, we're playing these hours today and you get this 1 hour for free. I could only go and grab something fast because that's the only option. But today everything is so structured. Most days kind of look the same, so you can plan your days now. You can plan your meals and all that. So I think it's a combination of structure, but also like knowledge. I don't think, me personally at least, like it's hard to know what things are good to make you perform better and what things are good to eat for the best performance. So I think we're all starting to learn a lot about that now.
Bwipo, how important is it for you to have this healthy routine?
I mean, I don't even feel like it's a gamer stereotype, right? But
Yeah, for
I'm pretty sure if you go to like any library and you go to any university, I'm fairly sure that even the people that don't play video games have this tendency. Things is more of a matter of time, of trying to win time. And I feel like nowadays people aren't trying to win time as much. You know, they're not trying to I'll just eat something so I can play more. Because I feel like that's where it comes from, right? Like for me, for example, I would rather go order McDonald's or go there real quick because it would take 20 or 30 minutes and then I can play more, right? So great, let's go. Whereas now, that time, well, someone else is doing it. Like we said, it was a team of 6 people. Our coach isn't going to cook for us, right? Yeah. So getting a chef instead means that obviously the people that have the time or like want to spend the time to make the food, they're doing that for us. So of course we're gonna eat healthier because this guy's actually making us like, you know, I don't want to like downplay McDonald's here. They're making us a little bit healthier of a lifestyle, healthier food and whatnot. So I feel like that's like the main difference. And yeah, it's a gamer stereotype.
Some days you gotta take a cheeseburger, man.
Yeah.
You can't keep it too strict either. You have to feel some freedom in it as well. But yeah, just think twice and it will be all good.
All right. Now, concrete example about all that. You're playing split final today, and you're playing a major today. What do you drink? What do you eat? What do you avoid eating?
Avoid sugar. You don't wanna crash. So I think, if we play a game day, I think you wake up. The best thing to do in the morning, I would say, is go for a jog or go for a power walk or something, like wake up the brain, wake up the body, and after that you're gonna feel very fresh. Then we head to the arena, to the stage, and over there we make sure that we have some bananas or snacks or anything that we can take, because between maps we only have like 5 minutes. So you have to take something fast, but it can't be sugar, because then you're gonna crash after half your game and you're gonna be pissed off or whatever. You can't control your mode, because that's how sugar works on you.
How about nervousness for you guys? Because you've been playing on stage for years now, and it must take a lot to shake you on stage. But when was the last time you've been nervous?
Every event, I must say.
Every event?
Yeah, I mean,
I get nervous every stage game, I would say. Always the first game going into the tournament, but also every stage game. I don't know, because I think if you don't get nervous, I don't know how to explain it, but I think if you really, really want something and you really, really care about something, you are gonna get nervous.
Makes sense.
And maybe you learn how to control it. Like you turn it in a positive way instead of could be a bad way, like how you're shaking and stuff like that. But like you look forward to get that feeling and like do a good play or something like that, because then you're gonna feel good about yourself and keep you pumped up for the next couple of minutes.
When was the last time you were nervous, you two?
I mean, honestly, for me, I try to avoid the game on match day because I don't want to have second guesses. Like, if my coach tells me you're going to play this champion, and he's like, maybe you should play it on the game to warm up, I'd rather not. Because I feel like if I play that game and I have the worst game ever, I will not be as confident going onto the stage. That said, when I was like really nervous, as in like really feeling it, it's probably Worlds last year. But actually, I think spring finals, like semifinals, I think I was pretty like nervous because I don't know. We came from a pretty low, and then we started going high, and then it was like, okay, are we actually gonna win? I'm not sure.
I think when we were down 0-2 in the spring final, knowing we had to win 3 in a row, that was a pretty nervous moment. And I think we all looked at each other and we knew that this is gonna be a rough one, guys. And we were just all trying to reset mentally and try to bring it back. And then we somehow made it into the third game and smashed them, but then it just went downhill again. And yeah, once you're down at such a low and in those intense moments, it was same at Worlds. In quarterfinals, we were against EDG and we had some really close games against them. And just when you're in these really important games and these where you really have to step it up, that's when you get nervous. But as Krimz said, it's just important to use those nerves to actually make you perform better rather than dragging you down.
All right, I think that's all for us here. Thank you very much for all your insights, and I hope you learned through each other's experiences, and I wish you good luck on the rest of the year, you four. Thank you all very much for watching, and that is all for us from the Jacqueline's Fnatic Attic.